Welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast. Back with another Big 12 team preview here today. We got the Arizona State Sun Devils. Before we do dive in, if you are liking our content, please go ahead and like and subscribe. We do appreciate all the support. But now diving in, Cody, we'll start on the offensive side of the ball. What strengths do you see in this offense? Of course, we've got Mo Odom, who has been one of the more prolific on-ball creators now for 3 years, over 40% career assist rate, 44% last year. So pretty remarkable number in his own right.
Yeah, I mean, I think and he kind of resembles the main strength of this team. I think it's their perimeter pop and on-ball creation. Mo Odom is obviously the headliner. He's a fantastic pick and roll operator. 44% assist rate last season. I believe he finished second. I think he was right behind Braden Smith. So pretty impressive. And then he's got a guy like Adante Holloman by his side. He's a solid perimeter shot creator in his own right. He shot 39% from three on 8.4 attempts per game. Then you have some other perimeter shooting talents on this roster as well. And guys like Marcus Adams shot at 39.5% at Cal State Northridge last year. A guy like Andrija Grbovic coming from, I believe, Montenegro is where he's coming from. Shot at 44% last year in the Adriatic League. And, I think this group, it makes up for a pretty solid perimeter group with a space floor at all times. A guy like Noah Musin is coming in as well. I mean, there's some international influence coming in this season. I mean, he's more of a pure point guard, so I'm not really sure what his role is going to be like behind a guy like Mo Odom. And then you also have some JUCO and NAIA guys coming in, and Anthony Johnson and VJ Wallace, who had some intrigue. They had some pop on the perimeter, had some driving ability to attack closeouts. Anthony Johnson averaged 24 points per game, and VJ Wallace averaged 15.7 and 3.1 assists. I think VJ Wallace is probably the guy that plays a bigger role on the wing. I think there's sort of a lack of like bigger twos or threes on this roster. Like Marcus Adams can play that role, but I think VJ Wallace kind of can play the role as more of an interchangeable wing that can attack closeouts and score at the rim a bit. So yeah, I do think there's some perimeter pop on this team, and I think that's certainly their main strength.
Yeah, I mean that's going to have to be where the strength is, because there's no interior offensive strength really, and we don't really know even what it looks like. Like, you've got Alan David Mukeba coming over from the Horizon League, from Oakland, and he's a 6'7", like undersized, interior reliant. Like, he has no floor spacing ability whatsoever at 6'7". I do not see, as we talked about back in our transfer portal review, like, this is not a transfer that we see going well at all. And then, on top of that, the everything else for size on the interior is all freshmen, right? You've got like a guy like Moore Diop, right? I think, who 6'10", Andrea Grbovic 6'9". You don't really have any sort of like interior scoring punch, right? And also, to your point, like, there's not a ton on the wing either, right? You've got some guards, and then, like you said, Marcus Adams, but now like Jake O'Neal left for Sweden. So
good spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't really see much on the interior that's going to help this offense whatsoever. I think they're not going to be great on the offensive glass. They're going to really, I think, struggle to score in the paint with their big guys.
Yeah, that's my main concern, obviously. Like, I mean, Mukeba can be a post-up threat, but obviously it's a little bit concerning when he's 6'7" going up against power conference fives every night. Like, he's not going to get that mismatch at the 4 because, I mean, most defenses are going to throw their center at him because he can't space the floor. He's not going to be able to take a less mobile big off the bounce. Like, he's relying on his post-up game and some face-up game in there. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a pretty rough transition for him. And I don't think there's a lot of guys on this roster that can put pressure on the rim, even from the perimeter. I mentioned VJ Wallace. I think he's a guy that can do that. And I think he plays a bigger role than some people think this season. But guys like Mo Odom and Adante Holloman are strictly perimeter shot creators for me. I think like Odom, I think he's going to be able to create some rim attempts for the like rollers in Mukeba and more Jop, but I don't really see the burst or that true burst or athleticism to get to the rim consistently, like create free throw attempts. Adante Holloman is strictly looking for his perimeter shot, and Marcus Adams and Gerbevich are more perimeter reliant. So overall, this is going to be a very shot making reliant team that I think has some issues with getting to the rim as a whole.
Yeah, no, I think so. The offense is not great, I don't think. But now shifting to the defensive side, what strengths do you see on this side of the ball?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you don't think the offense is good, I think the defense is worse. So
yeah, no,
but I will mention some strengths.
I love how you're opening up strengths with it's not good.
Yeah, I just heard you mention that the offense wasn't going to be great. I think it's going to be fine, but I do think, I mean, yeah, there's some strengths on the defensive end, but I don't have a large list. I said, this is exactly how I wrote it. I said maybe turnover forcing with a question mark. Like, that's kind of where my strengths end. I think there's some smaller guards that can make some plays in Mo Odom, Adante Holloman, and Anthony Johnson. From what I saw on tape, I think he's going to be able to make some plays, and I think Bobby Hurley's going to give those guys a lot of freedom when it comes to making plays. Odom 2.1% steal rate, Holloman 2.2%, and Johnson averaged 1.8 steals per game in NAIA. And Hurley defenses are typically aggressive, which leads to a higher turnover rate. In turn, top 100 nationally in 5 straight seasons in this area. Last year, well, before last season, they finished 253rd last year. And that defense has some of the same concerns that I have with this roster. But I don't know if you have any other strengths that you wanted to mention.
No, not really. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty on this end of the floor, and so I mean, I think the guards and wings are going to have to be the strength, because I think this, similar to the offensive side of the ball, I think the interior defense is extremely lacking, right? Yeah. Alan David Mukeba again at 6'7". He's had good numbers in the rim protection department, at Oakland, but this isn't the Horizon League anymore. This is the Big 12, and he's 6'7", and then the depth behind him is not great. Like, even looking at his numbers, right, last year, he had a 4.1%, or sorry, a 4.1 fouls per 40 at Oakland. Now he's coming to a big boy league and gonna have to make adjustments there, and he's gonna be like he's gonna have to protect the rim, and I don't really see it. I don't really see him being all that great on the defensive glass either. I don't see the team being that great on the defensive glass. I mean, even looking at Mukeba back at Kansas City 2 years ago, 7 fouls per 40.
I was gonna mention this.
It's out of this world. So, I think there are real concerns on the interior defense, of Arizona State.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Mukeba is I think he does play bigger than his 6'7" frame on the defensive end. He has a long wingspan, and I think a plus vertical for how wide he is. So I think rim protection can be okay in that regard, because I do think more Masamba Jop can provide some rim protection as well. Like Santiago Truitt, I think, coming from San Diego, can be okay. Besides that, and the fact that it's not certain rim protection, I think, is a concern because Bobby Hurley teams are always good in this area. They always have a ton of length up front. But it's just, yeah, they're typically really good in the effective field goal percentage department, and the fact that that is an issue is, yeah, it's obviously not a great outlook for this defense. And I mean, as good as the guards are in the playmaking department, I don't think they're really good when it comes to guarding the ball. I'm not sure how like Mo Odom and Adante Holloman can play at the same time because I think they're so small. They're not switchable at all, like 6'1" and 6 foot respectively, and very thin framed. And I just don't think they can really contain the ball at all. Like if they're guarding anyone that's 6'3" or bigger, I think they're kind of outmatched. So I definitely have a concern in that area, and I just think there's very little versatility on the wings with. Well, I mean, outside of like Marcus Adams and VJ Wallace, but I don't think they're like known as fantastic on ball defenders. So, and yeah, like I mentioned, I think the fact that the backbone of a Bobby Hurley defense is kind of getting thrown out the window with the lack of rim protection and length across the board. I think that just creates a very poor outlook for Arizona State.
Yeah, no, I mean Torvik projects this team at what they're fourth from the bottom, and I think that might be a little bit generous.
It is.
We'll see. We're just telling it how it is tonight, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess that leads me into team MVP, team X Factor. Who do you have here?
I have Mo Odom as the MVP. I just think he's going to be the offensive engine. I think he's going to be able to create a lot of advantages for others for this team. Like guys like Marcus Adams and Andrija Grbovic are going to be able to reap the benefits of Mo Odom's very creative passing ability, his ability to manipulate the pick and roll and put defenses in really tough spots. So I don't think his scoring translates at all that high of a level. I think his last year was more of an outlier from a shooting perspective, and I don't think he's a great rim scorer, but I think his passing ability is, I truly think he's a top 5 or 6 passer in the entire country, and that's going to be able to translate well. For my X Factor, I went with Moore Masamba Diop as the guy here. I don't think Mukeba is going to be able to play the 5 for large stretches, so I do think they need another guy to come in and provide some rim protection. But I think Diop is a competent rim protector at the very least. So ultimately, there's not a ton of other guys on this roster, so I kind of had to go with him as the guy that needs to carry the load.
Yeah, I think that's certainly fair. I went with Mo Odom as my MVP as well. I went a different direction. I went more offense driven here, just as like a secondary scoring option at the forward spot. And Marcus Adams Jr., I went with him as my X Factor. Obviously had a big year last year at Cal State Northridge. So I think they're going to need him to produce if they want to be, solid on the offensive end. So ultimately I went with him as the X Factor, but, I think I just didn't really know where to turn, in terms of like what big to choose as the X Factor, because I don't really know.
Yeah,
but I think your point's fair. Now, how about ceiling and floor? Obviously, I said fourth from the bottom is where Torvik projects, but where do you see them?
Yeah. One thing I will say about Marcus Adams is he actually played a lot of small ball 5 at Cal State Northridge last year. I think it was more because from the defensive scheme that they played, which allowed him to play there. And I don't think he's going to be able to do much of that, but he's going to be able to play the 4 in large spurts, and I think he can be really valuable. But I think I have their ceiling as 10th in the league. It's just I have too many issues particularly on the defensive end, and I just think this team's going to be a little bit too shot making reliant on offense to be great night in and night out. Maybe they have like a 3 or 4 game stretch where they shoot the cover off the ball and win some tough games, but ultimately I don't see them working themselves up into like the 6 or 7 range. Their floor, you guessed it, it's the bottom of the Big 12. I have this team kind of sitting around like where UCF is at from like a ranking perspective, I think it's those two kind of sitting at the bottom in a tier by themselves. I just see too many issues with this roster.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you went as high as 10th for their ceiling. I thought you'd be a little less generous, because I was. So I went.
Wow.
I went. I said 12 to 18. Is it, I don't know. I just don't really see a fantastic product here at Arizona State this year, unfortunately. So um, we'll see, though. I mean, maybe they surprise some people. Some of these guys coming in from JUCO, NAIA, transferring up that we don't really expect to do a ton. Freshmen coming in, who knows? Maybe Hurley's got a plan that we don't quite see, but based on their success over the last few years, I'd say um, we're closer to being right. So
Yeah. I'm kind of unsure of what Bobby Hurley's plan is sometimes, so I'm not completely sure if he has like a real plan. I mean, he does a good job of like accumulating talent, and this place is known as Guard U, right? And I think he does a good job of accumulating talent on the perimeter. But I will say my bold prediction is that Bobby Hurley gets let go after this season. It makes sense, so I don't really think it's that bold.
yeah,
It's I think this is how I had it written out. I said Bobby Hurley is let go, and we're going to see him back in the mid-major ranks, where I think he's going to have a lot of success because of his ability to recruit, high-level guards. So I think that's sort of. I mean, he's had good teams at Arizona State. He's made a couple tournaments, but I think he's a coach that kind of belongs at kind of at the mid-major ranks, and that's not really a shot at him. Like I think he's a good coach in his own way, but and this makes sense because his contract is up after the season, and if it goes poorly, they're just not going to renew it.
yeah. I wish I could say I had a different bold prediction, but it's been kind of my theme. It's been my theme over like the whole season is like, or this whole off season. My bold predictions have been predicting which coaches are going to get canned, and I actually predicted that he wasn't going to make it through the season. But I guess I didn't really realize it is his last year. You said of his contract, so they'll probably let him see it through, but. Then again, I also wouldn't be surprised if they just like wanted to make a change before the end of the year and see if like someone from within is cut out for the job. But who knows? It's up in the air. But I'd be shocked if Hurley's back next season.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say is if you're an Arizona State fan, I would not consider watching this. I know we said a lot of bad things, but I mean, Bobby Hurley, he did a lot of good things throughout his coaching career here. He made a couple tournaments. He had some really good defenses, and he had a few teams that were really scary to play, especially in a tournament setting. So, I mean, I'm not like saying like he's done already. Like that's kind of what it seems like I'm doing here, but he at least creates a fun team and a fun environment. He's super fiery, and I think the talent that he has can create some upside and create a chance to knock off some really good teams on their home floor.
Yeah. So we'll see if they maybe surprise some people this year. But other than that, we'll wrap things up, and we'll see you next time on the Mainly Hoops podcast.